This is a really amazing space for me. I've sort of found a home here. Regular school didn't suit me, it didn't work at all. But the amazing part about this school is it's chaotic but completely organized at the same time.
I think what it does is promotes an environment where everyone is a teacher and everyone is a learner, and moving away from a hierarchical notion of, or more patriarchal, right? Like we're older so we know everything, and moving more into a model that acknowledges that children have as much to teach adults as adults have to teach kids. Different things, right? Like adults have a lot of knowledge that kids don't have, and kids have a lot more awareness of their vulnerabilities and what it means to be human than adults have. So there's a nice opportunity for reciprocal learning.
It's about creating an ecology, creating an environment where the variety of folks that are there, and it includes the adults that are there as well, can continue to learn and grow and to really reflect on who they are and who they wish to become, and then support them in that journey.
I love how it's just so accepting, and I can be myself and kind of follow my dreams, because I want to be a singer when I grow up, and I've just kind of discovered that and been learning more about who I am and thinking and reflecting on who I am, and do I want to do this or do I want to do that, and how that's going to impact me and other people.
Every child and youth that goes to that school is respectfully given a place to belong.
What VCS did is it liberated me. It liberates you to have friends, it liberates you to have opportunities. There's mentors that come in. The kids get a choice. The kids get to run their own education.
One of the things I love about Vernon Community School is that difference is the norm. And so students are encouraged to grow and be themselves, and then learning emerges from that. So you won't see all the students doing the same thing. You'll see them either interpreting a task in a way that makes sense for them, or making choices around which mentors to work with based on passions and interests they have.
It's my first year here, and within I think the first 2 weeks, I was accepted. I had like 3 different friends. I was accepted in the community. A lot of times in the old system, it just restricted my thinking, restricted my happiness, whereas here, honestly, it's a miracle for me, and especially my parents, because yes, I do have autism, but guess what? Does that mean that I should be thrown out? No, it just means I was born with something else. I was born with a special ability to think differently to what they call the average. But that's what VCS is doing. They're changing the average.
Every child is unique, and Kim and Murray are very much attentive to getting to know who that person is and what they bring and what their gifts are and what their strengths are.
Kim and Murray are more of like guiders. They guide us to do things that we like instead of telling us what to do. So if we want to pursue our passions, then they guide us towards that instead of telling us you have to do this or you have to do that.
So if, say, you want the career of being, say, a book editor like me, then they will try and find you mentors for English, but you still have to approach that person and ask them to help you out.
The job of the students is to try to learn who they are really and what they want to do for when they're older and what their passion is and what they want to work on.
So we are in charge of taking it up, as we say at Vernon Community School. If you want to do it, you do it. The teachers aren't going to tell you what to do, and they're not going to make you do something. So if you want to do it, you just have to do your best to make it happen, and they'll help you with that.
In terms of the concepts and the curricular competencies, those have emerged in different inquiries that have been designed for the students and with the students. Sometimes it's the students that provoke an inquiry, but then we look to the big ideas and the concepts and the curricular competencies and say, which fit here? In some of the inquiries, they're designed so that the students have to identify which competencies do I want to explore, or which concepts will I take up. And so the design is always creating a space for students to be designers, creators, explorers, and then most importantly, communicators. So critical thinking and creative thinking happen within this work, but it has to be something that students are deriving and creating. And then the support from the teachers and the other peers comes within that process of inquiring, documenting, researching, exploring, working with community members and mentors, and then synthesizing learning to communicate with others.
The act of learning is shared in the school, and it very much is a curriculum making effort. So everybody contributing their insights, their perspectives, their narrative of experience. And it's not just everybody saying, okay, you've got this and you figured out this. It's collectively, what does that make? What sense making can I learn from everybody, from the collective? So I like to think of it as a movement of thinking, and it's individual and collective at the same time, and you bring it back to bear on your own thinking. So it's very much adapting, changing, building, making meaning on an ongoing basis.
And I think you learn a lot more when you actually have to teach someone about it. So we study for a presentation, and then we have to teach it to all the other people instead of just kind of memorizing it and writing it down.
It's been really interesting and exciting as we wrestle with the renewed curriculum to say, okay, these core competencies really resonate, but also to say, we're not marking these core competencies. And so Kim and Murray worked to construct continua using the core competencies, and instead of exams, the students engage in an examination of learning where they self-assess in relation to these core competencies, and the students support each other to say, where do I think I am on this journey and where do I think I could go? It's really a chance for metacognition, self-reflection, and goal setting. And so midway through the year and at the end of the year, they use these core competencies to reflect on their learning and draw from the experiences that they've had with inquiries, with learning, with mentors, to say, what evidence do I have? And then how does this tell me where I need to go next?
I also, if not a singer, want to be a psychologist when I grow up. So I've been kind of practicing how to make other people feel good and just say, hey, I'm always there for you if you need to talk, or just trying to be open.
It is a really welcoming place. They want you to come to school. They want you to be happy. If something's not wrong, then we'll talk about it and have a circle and just work things out instead of letting the problem get bigger and bigger until we can't handle it. But we go in a circle and we talk and we share our feelings about stuff. Like some people, like if they fight or do something, like they'll bring it into the circle and we'll all have an opinion on this. Or we'll go into a private room and have a teacher or have just kids to help us out and talk through things.
People have to work together. They can't just, it's not Vernon Individual School. It's called Vernon Community School for a reason. So we bring in mentors from the community.
So they come in and they'll pitch their idea to us, and then we can decide whether we want to work with them. And so it's to inspire us, I think, because you work with the mentors and you kind of get inspired to, oh yes, I really want to do this. And then you can go more deeply into it, whether that's working more with them or doing courses on it or researching it more.
We had a dance mentor come in, and that was helping me pursue my passion.
We have a mentor that does creative writing and art, and we have other mentors who teach us in coding, and we have people who work on bikes, drawing, pretty much anything. And the greatest thing about this is Kim and Murray will help us get mentors, but you have to put in the work to get what you want.
There's room for everybody to bring who they are and who they want to become. There's space created for that in a classroom, and navigating what that space is like is very artful. For some, students immediately seized it and began really committing to their passions and growing their identities in really remarkable ways. And for others, there was a lot of resistance, and out of fear in some cases, out of embarrassment in some cases, out of really painful experiences for some. And there was tremendous patience and waiting and looking for openings and looking for ways to encourage and foster growth.
This work, often to an outside observer, looks perhaps frivolous or not really grounded in rigor, but to be that vulnerable and open to everyone around you in that environment, to do that day after day is exhausting.
Our work is to promote students' growth and how do you lift other people up and what does it mean to serve others, that's pretty hard to do as an idea. You have to do it because then you realize how hard it is.
In traditional school, I used to get bullied a lot and didn't get support. Like, it felt like I was just kind of a ghost just floating there, just going through people kind of. And now people actually like notice me and talk to me. It's nice.
I'm gonna fight 'em all. A Salvation Army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off, taking their time right behind my back. And I'm talking to myself like,
What does it mean to really meet kids where they're at? What does it mean to pedagogically love them and to call them forth? And those are questions that we just have to keep asking. And I love those conversations. It's an amazing privilege to be a teacher and work with kids in these ways.
What VCS offers to other educators, other parents, the wider community is the possibilities of reframing education away from competition, away from comparisons, away from imposed control. In this case, it helps others see what learning looks and feels like when it's really genuine. And rather than control being outside, control comes from within the learning culture itself. And the power and possibilities of that are amazing. And I've watched parents who were wondering, well, what about grades? And students asking, what about grades? And though some of those questions linger, they're much more on the back burner, because what you now have is a child really enjoying learning, finding passions that they didn't know they had, and questions that they didn't know they had, and enjoying the inquiry experience, so much so that grades are on the back burner. And learning has become a priority for them in every sense of what it is to be a learner.
I joined VCS. It has changed my life so much. I've met so many new friends. It just inspires me to say, well, guess what? They're my dreams. What if I can make them come true?